Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. Thank you for having this very important hearing today. Thank you to Ranking Member Blackburn. Protecting kids online has been a priority of mine for a long time. And the COVID pandemic has actually made it even more clear. You know, the kids' use of this technology is just going through the roof, and it's exposing even more problems that have existed for the last 20 years in terms of kids' exposure to it. And it's why earlier this month I introduced with Senator Cassidy a Bipartisan Children's and Teens Online Privacy Protection Act, which builds on the original COPPA law, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, which I was the author of in 1998. This new COPPA 2.0 helps to protect kids up to the age of 16, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. The original law was just 12 and under, not adequate, not in this new world that we live in. And it would require consent in order to collect information from them. It would also prohibit websites and apps from collecting more data than they need to fulfill the service that the teen is requesting. The tech industry just loves getting all this information about children in our society. They just keep coming in on children, the tech industry, and gathering this information. The tech industry is just out of control on this issue. So from my perspective, do you agree that young teens are an especially vulnerable audience that deserves much higher levels of protection?
Yes, I do.
Do you agree with that, Mr.
Yeah, absolutely.
Engelman? Yeah, thank you. The legislation also includes requirement that platforms should reasonably know that kids are on their websites and apps to get parental consent in order to collect children's data. After all, these companies have a lot of information about who is on their websites. Ms. Campbell, can you quickly explain why this constructive knowledge standard will help protect children's privacy by stopping websites from turning a blind eye to the fact that kids are on their platforms?
Thank you, Senator. Under the current law, operator is not responsible for complying with COPPA unless their service or website is directed at children, or if they have what is known as actual knowledge, which gives them the incentive to say, oh, we're not for kids. We don't have kids online. When in fact they do know, because they're collecting so much information from these kids that they can, use this information and to determine age. And often, they also know because, TikTok, I don't know how they can say they don't, when they, there's so many articles about how kids are on the service. So yes, I do think that changing to constructive knowledge would make this a easier standard, both to apply and practice, but also for the companies themselves. I think it's a natural. It's like they knew or they should have known. It doesn't really depend on whether they actually knew what the algorithm was doing. And I think in Professor Eagleman's testimony, written testimony, he also addresses.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that you agree as well, Mr. Eagleman. So let me just say that I do think it's critical because of these tech firms and their exploitation of children. It's absolutely disgraceful what is going on. The tech industry just, you kick them in the heart, you're going to break your toe in terms of their relationship with children in our society. So I just think we need to add a constructive knowledge standard. That's critical to protect children. And I believe that the committee also should build on consent and disclosure requirements by enacting data use limitations. And one of those data use limitations should be outright ban on targeting advertising to children. Mr. Kidron, do you agree that Congress should prohibit online advertisers from using children's data to target ads to them?
Yes, I do. Before I answer your question, Senator Markey, can I pay tribute to the work that you have done for so many years on behalf of children and recognize that the world over, we know your name and the actions you've taken. So I just want to make that clear from here in London. Absolutely, targeted ads should be prohibited. Using children's data for that purpose is inappropriate. Contextual ads are perfectly adequate for the market. And I think that traditional communication law, both here in the UK and I believe in Congress, has already set out why it's unacceptable to bombard children with advertising. You know, childhood's a journey. Children do not have the cognitive capacity and life experience to understand the high arts of advertising and influence.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And Senator Blumenthal and I recently wrote a letter to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg demanding answers about the social media company's plans for an Instagram plan to start bringing more children into their world. The company has yet to disclose all of the details of this plan, but it's clear that there are major risks to kids' privacy and well-being on this type of platform. Instagram for children sounds superficially very attractive, but we understand that it's a very vulnerable audience. Unfortunately, in its response to Senator Blumenthal and I, which I asked to be included in the record today,
Without objection.
Facebook refused to give Senator Blumenthal and I any meaningful commitments about how to ensure that its proposed Instagram Kids app does not harm young users' mental health and threaten their privacy. And that's why I am strongly urging Facebook to abandon its plans to launch a version of Instagram for kids. Ms. Campbell, do you share Senator Blumenthal and my concern about Facebook's proposal?
Yes, I do. I think it's already been discussed how they haven't earned our trust. They have a bad track record. I was one of the signatories of a letter that asked them to stop it. And I think given the way, since Instagram, there's already lots of kids on Instagram. They're already, it has some negative effects. And to open it up to even younger children is, I just think, a huge mistake and a big risk.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately, when it comes to putting children ahead of their profits, big tech always fails. That they forfeited the benefit of the doubt on this issue. It is time for this Congress to pass comprehensive privacy legislation to protect children. This goes on year after year after year after year, and we have to continue to wait and wait and wait and wait to put these protections on the books for children in our country. They are being targeted. They are vulnerable. We know it's happening. We can pass a law this year to protect these children. We should put it at the top of our tech agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Markey. And I strongly share your view that Facebook's response to us was abysmally inadequate on Instagram Kids, failing to address our reservations and concerns. And I think the impatience with big tech's invasion of privacy and exploitive practices is now very broadly felt and bipartisan, as is indicated by the comments that have been made today. And they should be on notice that either they come to the table and participate in meaningful protection, or they will have failed to be part of this dialogue, and there should be action this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator